Hello and welcome to episode 26 of The Creative Entrepreneur. This is Bob Baker, and here's an interview that I was really looking forward to. My guest today is Karen Drucker, and since the late 90s, she has been making a living and making a difference as a musician, creating, I guess, what could be best described as positive music. It's music for uplifting your spirit, it's music for healing. It's a niche that she sort of accidentally actually got into back in the 90s, but fully embraced and has been making a living and a career at it for many years now. So I know you're going to enjoy this one because her attitude is just infectious and inspiring. I probably use that word a lot, but it really applies here. But before we get to that, well, I got to ask, are you on the Creative Entrepreneur VIP list? If you said yes, good move. You're a smart person. If you said no, I just got to ask, well, why not? Maybe you got distracted. Maybe you never took me up on this offer. It's free. It's really easy. And you get a big free sample of my new book called The DIY Career Manifesto. You'll get emails every time I post a new interview so you don't miss any of them. And I'll also keep you posted on upcoming creative entrepreneur type events and online courses and things that I offer as the months progress ahead. All you need to do is go to DIYcareermanifesto.com. That is DIYcareermanifesto.com and find a link there that says Creative Entrepreneur VIP list and sign up. It's real simple. It's real easy and you're set. Come on, just do it right now while you're thinking about it. Come on. All right. So without further ado, here's my interview with Karen Drucker. Welcome to the Creative Entrepreneur. Bob Baker here with an interesting guest, someone I've been looking forward to speaking with. Again, I'm talking about Karen Drucker. Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hi. How are you? Yay!
Fantastic. And you're coming from your home in California. Where at are you? You're in Southern California, or where are you located?
I live outside of San Francisco.
Okay.
Northern California.
So you're a Bay Area girl.
I am a Bay Area girl. I grew up in Hollywood in Southern California, but now I've been living up in Northern California for many, many years and love it so much.
Fantastic. Well, I've been looking forward to you because you are someone who is definitely sort of was a pioneer in a particular niche of music that I'm eager to find more about you. And I know that you and I met for the first time a little over a year ago at this event called the Posse Awards.
Right.
That's held every year in Florida, and it's gets a lot of people that create positive music, and it's sort of like the niche that I believe you were a pioneer in, and maybe you can get. I'm looking forward to learning more of your story. But this as a personal, how I came to know you about 10 years or so. I started playing in churches. I guess what are, for those of you who, like I said, may not know, it's a brand of church that's often referred to as a New Thought. They include a lot of like unity churches and centers for spiritual living, and then they have them in St. Louis. So I started playing or attending first, and then before long, after years of playing in bars and all this stuff, I started playing music also for these particular types of churches. And suddenly all these songs, the name Karen Drucker kept coming up, and we're singing these congregationals, and that's another Karen Drucker song. So I was well aware.
Who is Karen Drucker?
Yeah, who is this woman and all this music that she's been creating? I finally got a chance to meet you and see you perform and speak for the first time, and I can see why you've built such a great career. And so I'm going to ask you, like, if somebody these days comes up to you and says, Karen, so who are you? What do you do for a living? How would you describe what you do?
I love it. That's like the 30-second elevator thing that you have to have down. I am but I would say I am a positive message. See, it's always interesting when you ask something like that, because it's like, what exactly, how do you say it? Because if you say inspirational, then people think, oh, Christian or religious. So it's like, I say I'm a positive message musician, speaker, and workshop facilitator.
Awesome. That's very succinct. Yes.
Kind of trying to get there. But yeah, I mean, I started off, I did the same thing as you. I was playing in blues bars. I was playing, for years I made my living playing in blues bars and singing blues and jazz. And I was one of the main bands in San Francisco doing corporate parties for years and years and years.
What was the name of that band? Is that a curiosity?
Just Karen Drucker Band.
Oh, cool. Okay, so you've always been branding yourself with your name for all these years?
Yeah,
cool.
But I was singing Feelings in Evergreen in New York, New York. It's like not exactly what I really wanted to do. But I got asked to sing at a New Thought church just just completely by a fluke. Another musician friend of mine just said, what else are you doing on a Sunday morning? Why don't you just come and sing, at this church, make $100. What else are you going to do on a Sunday morning? And I was not into church. I didn't know anything about this. And I showed up. And what an interesting thing that people weren't throwing beer bottles at me and
chicken wire or anything.
Chicken wire and blending drinks while I was in the middle of a song.
And what year was that? Just out of curiosity, do you remember?
Oh, God. I went, that's a really good question. Like, how long have I actually been doing this? My very first CD came out in 1999. So I'm thinking it must have been like maybe 97 or something.
And that was your first experience or exposure to this sort of new place where music can be created and shared and all that.
But I just didn't even know anything about it. I mean, I had always been writing positive songs, but I didn't know there was a genre. I didn't know there was a place that I could do it. Right. And so I started to sing in these churches. I eventually became a music director when this gal moved on. Was the music director of this church and wound up actually being a music director for 12 years in 3 different New Thought churches in the Bay Area. Cool. And it was only by a fluke that I just like one day went off to another church. It was just, I subbed out my job, went to another church, and all of a sudden all these people were going, wow, this music is great. Can we buy it? And I'm thinking, wow, you make CDs of this stuff? You're kidding. Mm-hmm.
But you've got like 50, or how many CDs? 15 or more?
15, yeah.
Wow, and at least one book, right, or more?
I wrote a book, yeah. And here's an example, I think, of the concept of when spirit is calling you, when you are getting a call inside of you, which one of my albums is called The Call. But when you are getting that feeling of just anger and cranky, and you're just like, I'm doing music that doesn't fulfill me, or I'm doing a job that doesn't fulfill me. My evolution really was one of going from it was like a zigzag path that was going like this, of like doing music in corporate settings and going, do I really want to sing evergreen and feelings for the rest of my life? And then getting this job at a church going, I don't really know what I'm doing, but it's kind of fun, and starting to write some songs, and then getting a job as a music director, then leaving that and starting to travel the country. And then, everything is zigzagged from, eventually people kept coming to my table going, where's your book? Wow. It's like, I don't have a book. Where's your book? Did you already sell out of your book? And that's what got me to a point of going, am I supposed to write a book? And so that's how I got into
cool.
that.
It reminds me, there was a graphic image that I posted on Facebook recently, and it said on the left side it said success. This is what people think it is, and it was like a straight line from point A to point B. And then on the other side it said this is what it's really like, and it was this line that zigzagged all over the place until it got to that.
I have to get that. Yeah. Oh, can you send that to me?
I will share that with you because it points out exactly. And I'm actually have written I guess the first part of a new book called the DIY Career Manifesto. It's kind of tied into this whole new interview series. And in there I talk about, that how I could never have foreseen when I took steps early in my career to publish a local music newspaper that would eventually lead to me being an author and a teacher and all this stuff. But it's like taking action, paying attention to the feedback you're getting, and also
paying attention.
Yeah. And also paying attention to your own feelings about the thing that you're engaged in. Like, you knew you were frustrated by the corporate gigs, or there wasn't fulfilling. But then you went to the church and go, oh, wow, people are responding positively. And maybe, I assume you embraced that type of music more so than you did the corporate work, right?
Oh, very much. And especially because after a while when the very first time I went into these churches, my friend just said, well, sing happy songs. Just sing a few happy songs. And then eventually, I wound up listening to the minister's message and going, well, I could write something that would work better than what I'm finding. And that's how I started that's why I have 15 CDs, because I was writing a new song every week. Wow. So it just became like this really fun thing. And see, here's the other thing. And this is because I'm always kind of a teacher in my mind. I'm always kind of just trying to look at how all these are lessons for myself and other people, is that when I was writing pop songs and I was trying to get a recording deal and I was trying to get published, those songs were so difficult to write. I mean, it was like, I would labor over, oh God, I have to write a bridge now. And oh my God, what else do I need to say about my man done left me and my life sucks? I mean, what else what can I say? And when I started writing this kind of music and I was doing positive music, it's like, I mean, I should show you right here. I have notebooks and notebooks of, this thick of ideas. I mean, if I gave myself the time, that was a key there. If I gave myself the time to just be creative every day, that's one of my issues. I could have 9,000 albums because I have so much that comes through.
Right. So
all
that
the time.
You found that to be an easier process. It was more effortless, even though there's effort and activity, of course.
Yeah.
But compared to the pop writing, so I guess that's another clue that you're onto something that's in alignment.
Well, yeah. And see, I also, in all of my, one of the main things I do these days is I do a lot of women's retreats. I facilitate women's retreats. And one of the main themes that I use a lot that I got from Alan Cohen is this concept of what is it and what's not it. Or rather, what's a match and what's not a match, meaning when something's not a match to you, it's a struggle, it's an effort, you get tired, you get cranky, you're, all this stuff. But when something is it, you're lit up, you're excited, you wake up that morning going, oh, goody, goody, I get to go do this. You have energy. It's all that stuff. And it's just, first of all, I think it's identifying what is it and what's not it. What's a match, what's not a match. And obviously, when I was playing I remember I had one wedding where the mother of the bride had left. She's now left the building. She's had a wonderful day. She's great. She comes up. She's thanking me. And the mother of the bride comes up and starts screaming at me that I didn't play enough polkas. Polkas.
Or the hokey pokey or something.
Or the hokey pokey. Why didn't you play the hokey pokey over and over? And I just remember looking at this woman who's screaming at me going, oh my God, I can't, I'm done.
Right.
I mean, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was just how life evolved that I was able to start doing what it is that I do today. And I'm just, thank God I'm not playing polkas every weekend.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned blues or the Love Gone Wrong song. Didn't you write the song about I have no right to sing the blues or something?
I lost the right to sing the blues. My life is just so good. I've lost the right to sing the blues. Yeah.
That's awesome. See, a lot of these songs I've heard over the years, I've heard people cover them in different churches, that when I'm attending, and I more and more I'm like, that's a Karen Drucker song too? And actually that my girlfriend Pookie and I run the Gateway to Agape Choir, and we do a bunch of your songs, the gratitude before me, all that. Yeah, we do the hand gestures and the whole thing. But God is my source. Thank you for this day. Just yesterday, I opened up a service where I played solo with I give myself permission. So that's one thing. Like a lot of I imagine that you, like I did when I was a young musician, have this, wouldn't it be great to have a pop hit where everybody knew your songs? And so you maybe don't have like commercial radio success necessarily, but there are thousands and many, who knows, tens of thousands or more, hundreds of thousands of people that know your songs. Is that a fulfilling? It's got to be a nice little perk to your career there.
Well, that's interesting because I don't even recognize that. If you're saying that all these people, I do know that a lot of people know my songs, but I don't. That's probably one of the things that I'm working on is to get it more, that a lot of people know who I am. I tend to always think that no one knows who I am. Wow. Like whenever I go to a city and I'm going to do a concert and they're promoting me, I'm just always so grateful that people show up, because I think it's years and years of being a struggling musician that, I used to play, bars where, I would advertise, all my friends would say they were coming, and I'd have more people upstage with me in the band than was in the audience. So,
right. Oh yeah, we've all been there. Yeah,
we've all been there, and I'm counting all I'm counting all the empty chairs and how much money I'm losing that night. So I guess it's still, I still haven't gotten over that of just thinking that maybe a lot more people know me than I think that I do.
I think they do.
Okay.
I'm here to affirm that. Yeah. So
okay.
A lot of people that I hang out with, no, I know, and I'm not even gone to church. It's the same thing with like Ricky Byers Beckwith is another friend. We'll attend churches in other cities, and they're playing a Ricky song or one of yours. And it's like, that's really cool that these little pockets all over the country, all over the world, are playing your stuff. So that's awesome, Karen. So.
I love it. Well, and the thing for me too is like because I was a music director for so many years, I know what works and I know what doesn't work. And so like with congregational songs, that's why I think a lot of my songs are used, because I keep them really simple. My way of writing a chant, my little go-to phrase is if a 5-year-old can't sing it back to me in one try, I don't have it yet.
Right.
It's got to be so simple. It can't have any little weird rhythmical things, or I can't be doing an Aretha Franklin lick all of a sudden because I'm going to lose people. But if I keep it really simple,
right.
So that's why my style with all my CDs has been, I do a chant album, then I do a song album, a chant album, then a song. So I have Songs of the Spirit 1, 2, 3, 4, all my chant albums. This last one that I just did with Love Anything Is Possible, I actually combined them both because I thought people are downloading now so much that the idea of I'm separating everything out, saying here's a chant, now I just put it's like half chants and half songs on this last one.
Right, cool. There's songs about everything from self-empowerment to healing to, there's a whole I'm sure you've kind of got your little thematic subject matters that you return to, perhaps.
Well, I find, what really turns me on the most as a songwriter, I'll tell you my own personal vision is that I get, how do I say this? I think when it's songs of healing, when people are going through something really hard, like a health challenge, like cancer, like going in for chemotherapy and having to sit in a room while you get chemotherapy for 2 hours. The idea that my songs are walking with people along that path,
right.
That they're listening to, like I have a song called I'm Healed, Whole, and Healthy. I wrote that for my mom when she was going through chemo. And I've made these songs specifically for people who are going through a rough time, that if they can, put headphones on and they're getting infused with chemo and hearing I'm healed, whole, and healthy, or joy fills every cell in my body, or any of those kinds of songs, that's what touches my heart the most. And so I'm doing keynote talks now at cancer conferences or cancer centers, and I just did one for the cancer center down in San Diego, and I just loved it. Looking out in the audience, and I was singing some of those songs, and I could feel these women had used this music as they had gone through their chemo, and the connection I had with them was so deep, and it was just so meaningful to me. So the difference between singing, Louie Louie and Feelings and Evergreen versus a song that's going to help someone go through a hard time. Sign me up. That's what I want to do.
That's awesome. That taps into a bigger, deeper mission, than just I'm a musician. Look at me,
Yeah, I'm just not about that. I can't. I just don't ever go there. It just isn't me to do that.
All right, that's fantastic. So, Karen, I'm going to ask you some of the. I like to ask every guest the same series of questions, and I know you. Some guests they really prepare. They go into details. I could tell they're reading their answers. Reminding themselves from notes that they've made. But you, young lady, are one. You wanted to like to fly without a net for the most part with this.
Hey, I started off as an improv comedian.
Oh, really?
That's how I started off years and years ago. I made my living as a comedian before I was ever a musician.
I don't know. If we talked about that, but I did stand-up comedy for off and on for 15 years, and improv too. And I even teach comedy improv basics here in St. Louis. I've been doing that recently, so I had no idea we had that in common too. So
I was doing the whole San Francisco comedy scene. So the idea of studying, and it's like I'd just rather I do everything that way.
Well, cool. Well, my first question is just I like to kind of dig into the keys to success. And so if you had to identify maybe 3 key factors or qualities that have allowed you to sort of put out 15 CDs and have this prominence in your niche, what would those 3 key factors be?
Good question. I like that. Number 1, just show up. Just show up, meaning, just show up. You don't have to be perfect. But let me go back. I'm going to explain a few of these a little bit. Okay. So that just show up, just keep sticking yourself out there all the time. You don't have to, which actually kind of goes to the next one, which is you don't have to be perfect, meaning I know people who are like, I'm not going to go out and audition for something until I think that I'm absolutely perfect. Well, you're never going to be. You're perfect right now. Just go for it. Just do it. When I first started, I was terrible, really bad. But I just kept showing up at all these open mic nights in LA. One of my very first open mics was at the Troubadour in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's
and you had to sit. They came out to sign up people, at 3 o'clock. And so what happened was it became this whole thing that if you wanted to get on that night for Monday night, you had to get there earlier and earlier to make the lineup. So if they came out to get the first 3 people at 3 o'clock, people started to get there earlier and earlier, to the point of when I did it, I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you almost had to camp
out. And I sat out there. I camped out there. I mean, I'm, in my 20s, but, we all camped out in front of the Troubadour all day long, and it was like last man standing. Whoever was there at the end got it. And so, just show up, just keep putting yourself out there. And the more I did, the better I got. But basically, it's just, I think that whenever I have the opportunity to say yes to something, I do it. Mm-hmm. And the concept of thinking you have to be perfect, I've seen that. It's something I work on all the time, of lightening up about myself. But it's, I think it's that idea of perfection and having that critic run your brain and run your actions that stops most people. I mean, I've been doing coaching with people for years, and the biggest thing that I find is that they always come to me going, well, I've been wanting to do this CD forever, but I'm just not ready. Well, when are you going to be ready?
Right.
When are you going to be ready?
That day never comes, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have 15 CDs out. I'm still not ready.
You're doing it anyway.
I'm doing it anyway. I just really want to do it. And I think the other thing is kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, of like, what's it and what's not it for you. That means what songs light you up, what people light you up, what, all that kind of stuff. It's like really being able to tell the truth and go into your heart and see what is right for you. Don't take on what other people are telling you to do. I have a little a cappella song that I wrote called I Know, and it just goes, I don't know, but I know. I just have to remember that I know. When I forget, will you remind me that I know, I always know. So it's trusting that instead of putting the power out to somebody else and looking for their approval, and thinking that they know better than you. Nobody knows better than you what is your turn on and what is the best path for you.
That's awesome. Plus, I got a little personal serenade from Karen Drucker. How cool was that? Wow, our philosophies overlap so much, in addition to the comedy and the improv and the music and all that. But yeah, I love that. Show up. It's all about taking action. Yeah, and not waiting. I mean, throughout my history too, I was always more willing to I have the same doubts and fears that everyone else has, but we
all do.
Yeah, but I think my excitement about trying something new overshadowed any fear that I had, or I just it was louder, maybe, like for instance, stand-up comedy. I thought that would be something that would be really cool to do, or theater or improv, or even starting on my own local music newspaper. I had no experience doing it. Everything on paper said this was a bad idea, but I just jumped out there and said, what could I do sooner rather than later to get involved in this thing that excited me? And so it's certainly I knew that was the it thing, and I knew that day job was the not.
Right.
And other activities. And then for years I've been talking about the perfection curse, which keeps people from trying to get, all the ducks need to be in a row, all the stars need to be aligned.
No, and I do a lot of that work in my retreats with people. Is that your critic, and my critic, her name is Zelda. Your critic will just run everything so that you just kind of stay at this flat line, that you don't move. But every time you grow and stretch, the critic comes up, and it's supposed to come up and tell you every reason why you shouldn't. And if you look at it like a 2-year-old child, that how kids will go around in a circle before they plop down to go to sleep at night. It's like you just have to let them sort of like mouth off and say, anything more to say? Okay, great. And then you just go, that's not my truth, and here I go, and I'm going to go do this.
That's cool. Did you happen to get that idea from Julia Cameron by any chance? I think because I've heard her speak or write about. She's the Artist Way. I wrote The Artist Way, and she calls her critic Nigel, and she gives him he's like a flamboyant gay British designer or something, and so she turns it into like a cartoon, and so it diminishes the power that it has. Yeah,
I like that. No, I don't know about that. I'm going to check that out. That's that's great.
And yours is Zelda.
Zelda. But so, another thing I want to just bring up about this, because I think it's a great point. We were just talking about both of us doing improv. Mm-hmm. One of the things I love about improv is that the critic has no room really to get in. Like, did you ever do those exercises where it's like 4 people are up there and it's like, okay, you're in a deli. Okay, go. And, you just like someone's pointing and you have to like make up what you're going to do.
Right.
And there's no room. And so it's like that idea of just show up. Don't think about it so much. Just go for it.
Yeah, there are a ton of like life lessons in improv.
Oh,
I don't know if we want to get into them that much, but that's basically like accepting everything that's given to you, not resisting it. You never deny anything. You use whatever. It's like yes and you're
yes and
there's a lot of trust in working with the people on stage. It's not a competition with your other improvisers on stage. You're working together to build the scene, and it's just a ton of great stuff. So I'm going to speak to our listeners and our viewers for a second here, and just say what leave a comment on so far. Even though we have more of this interview to go, if you're watching it on YouTube, what do you think about some of these topics that we're talking about that Karen is sharing with you? I'd love to hear what you think of it. And if you're not on YouTube, you could also go to to DIYcareermanifesto.com, which houses all these interviews, and leave a comment there. Search for Karen's interview. But let's make this an interactive thing, folks. So, but she's just a lot of great stuff. If I can, I'll go ahead and go on to the next question. So we're talking about successes and and key factors for growth and all that. But let's also talk about. I think we also need to acknowledge challenges and hurdles that we face on our journey. And so if I could get you to pinpoint maybe one either business or creative challenge, and then how you overcame it, what you learned from it, what would that be, Miss Improviser?
I would say my biggest challenge was right here. Mm-hmm. It was right here. It was my own limitations of what I thought I could do. And dealing with that critic, because as far as real limitations of anybody else, it was if I had limitations of anybody telling me anything, I mean, if I really want to go woo-woo on you here, they were all manifestations of what I was projecting out. Like they're just like these mirrors saying, yeah, you can't do it, and you're not good, and you're not pretty enough, and you're not talented enough, and your songwriting isn't good enough, and all that kind of stuff. If I got any of that, it was just because that was stuff inside of me that I already felt. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that probably my biggest challenge was allowing myself to accept myself. And you know what? I wouldn't say that I'm always there. I mean, I can't say that, I think it's a continual challenge.
Right.
Every time I do, like this last album that I just did, really challenged me for some reason. And I think the reason why is because it took longer than most of my other albums to complete. And I really got to see how when there were periods where we had to stop for all these, there were just a lot of scheduling problems and travel and death in the family and blah, 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 blah. When it stopped, it's like I could feel that critic coming in and going, all these songs suck. Why are you, this is horrible. It's not as good as anything else you've ever done. Just stop right now. I mean, all of this crap.
Zelda, go to your room.
Zelda, go to your room. So I got to really experience it. So I would say that that's been my biggest challenge is learning to, it's actually the most popular song that I have that I always play that everybody wants to hear is a song that it's a little chant that just says, I will be gentle with myself. I will be gentle with myself, and I will hold myself like a newborn baby child. And I would say that that's what I had to really experience, was being gentle with myself, was giving myself a break. So that's really an ongoing spiritual path.
That's interesting. And so you would not be free to admit that a lot of the songs they reflect your own journey and messages that you need to hear. You never reach there. You never get to the end. Okay, I've got it all figured out now.
No. I every concert I do, the first thing I do is I say to everybody, before you look at me and think I have it all together, just know that every song I'm singing tonight are all about my issues. These are all my issues. Right. I mean, one of my most popular songs is N.O. is my new yes, where it's just like this big anthem of, saying no. That's probably the hardest thing for me, is saying no, especially when we're talking about these churches. Well, I'll have a church, call me and go, we have $50 and you have to walk all the way from San Francisco to, Michigan, but we just want you here so bad. And I'll be like, okay, I'll start walking right now.
All right, continuing on, Karen. This is like a 3-part question. This is imagine that you could go back and have a discussion. Yes, getting into the ohm zone here. You can go back and have a discussion with your younger self, young Karen. And so the current mature Karen is giving advice, and there's three basic pieces of advice that you'd have for the young Karen. It'd be, these are the things that you should do exactly the same because they really worked for me. 2 would be, these are the things you should completely avoid because they were kind of time wasters. I just didn't have the wisdom to know any better then. And these are some really good things I didn't realize till later. I should have, added into the mix earlier. So it's we'll take them one at a time. But what are the what are the factors? What would you do exactly the same if you were giving advice to your younger self, and also advice to other people maybe wanting to pursue a creative, business or opportunity?
Well, this is great because actually in my women's retreats, I have people actually bring pictures of themselves as kids.
Oh, cool.
And do exactly this exercise. And it's amazing because people will just all of a sudden realize that they'll give themselves a big break about, wow, I'm doing exactly what I should have done. I mean, it's like it's this big permission thing. Mm-hmm. So your first question then is, what would I say to my younger self
about what were the things? What did you do right? You didn't. You would do them exactly the same.
I would say exactly how you started the beginning questions with me. It would be a continuation of just show up. Mm-hmm. Just keep saying yes to things. I mean, I used to audition, for example, when I was doing comedy acting. I would audition for things even when I knew I was completely not right for the part.
Right. Just to get the experience.
Because what it did was it gave me not only the experience, but I also looked at it and thought, when it really comes time for me to have an audition that I really wanted and that I knew that I'd maybe be more nervous about, this is like, I look at it like it's like lifting weights. The first time you lift 50 pounds, you shake. But if you keep doing it every day, you're going to be great until you get to 60 and then you shake again. Right. So that analogy of just thinking about the more I put myself out for things all the time and just said yes, you never know. And also, even on the level of, you have no idea who else was in that audition process that could have seen me that said, she's not good for this, but I've got this other show coming up. Mm-hmm. So that has really led me, I think, to all the different things that I've done, from being on cruise ships. I mean, that was a fluke that I got on a cruise ship, and all of these different career moves I made continually kept being like, just keep showing up and saying yes. So I would say that to my younger self, I would say, please be gentle with yourself.
Yes.
And just keep saying yes to things.
Very, very, very cool. And then any like when there were times when you went down a wrong path, or anything, what would you recommend to avoid? And maybe they were time wasters of some type.
Well, there's two things like that. I used to think that those were big time wasters, and I would just kind of beat myself up for it and think, oh, you idiot, why did you do that? And now, as I've gotten older, I realize, again, that zigzag path, you never, sometimes I'd go down a path that I would think was wrong, only to find out that gave me the information that I needed to make the correct choice to go someplace else. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I almost look at it, again, going a little woo-woo here, I almost look at it like absolutely everything is in divine right order.
Mm-hmm, sure.
I mean, that on some level, even the things that you think are mistakes really can be leading you to someone that you meet, or a piece of information you needed, or whatever, that you kind of had to do that. And yes, am I human? Yes, there were times that I went down certain roads that I thought that I was an idiot and why did I do that? But for some reason, like right now, I just really look at it like it's all led. It's a little bit like having a big soup on the stove. And you know how you could put like some ingredients in that you think, oh God, if you just taste it like that, you go, why am I doing that? But if you stick it into the full pot, it added to the flavor of the whole thing.
Yeah, like a tapestry or something.
The tapestry, exactly.
Yeah, kind of. That's cool, because all these things that you did, good, bad, and otherwise, made you who you are. And so, why would you regret that? So that's a good answer.
And also too, there's a great story at the end of my book, Good Luck, Bad Luck, Who Knows? Do you know that little story?
I don't think so, no.
Well, in a little snapshot, the farmer has a son, and he's out. The farmer's out there in the pasture with the son, and the son is trying to get all the horses, and somehow breaks his leg while trying to wrestle a horse down, and the people come to him and say, "Oh, you poor thing, your son, you needed your son so badly for work. What are you going to do?" And he says, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" The next day, the army comes to town. They take all the young men in town, and the son can't go because he has a broken leg. And the townspeople go, "Wow, aren't you lucky that your son doesn't have to go to war?" He says, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" So it's this whole procession of all these different things, and that's how I live my life. Good luck, bad luck, who knows? Right. You could go down one road, it's like, I don't know if this is good or bad.
Right, so stop trying to label everything
right.
in your life, and just accept it. Again, improv, accept what's handed to you, and make the best of it. And work with it.
If it's bad, don't build a condo there. Move out.
Right. Yeah. Walk through I walk through the valley in the shadow of death. That doesn't mean you have to build a condo there or set up a hammock.
Exactly.
Or whatever. And then anything that good stuff that you would have recommend to your younger self to add into the mix earlier. Like here's something good. Yeah.
Have fun. Have fun. Have fun. Have fun. Have fun. Have fun. Just have more fun. I've always been a real worker. And I think that I have a song on this last album called "Permission to Play." I give myself more permission to just play and enjoy it. I mean, everything from how you see yourself. I mean, now I look at pictures of myself in my 20s, and I was so self-conscious of my body. And I look at that and go, my God, if I had the body that I had at 20, why wasn't I walking around, just going, woo, look at me. But
what were you thinking back then? Yeah.
But I mean, it's just that kind of thing of like at every step, enjoy the ride, enjoy the process that you're in, acknowledge yourself. I mean, I would say that's one of my biggest things. I think because, the main thing for me is I was a competitive swimmer. I was going toward the Olympics. And everything was always about when's the next meet. So everything I've done in my life has always been about, like as soon as a meet was done, you didn't savor that you won a silver or a gold or whatever. It was always like, okay, I got to get ready for the next meet. And I've done that with my CDs. I have to really acknowledge that I would get the big box of CDs, and instead of just going, wow, look at this, good job, little girl, look what you did, I would be like, okay, got to get it out, got to start publicizing it,
right.
And I would never take the time to toast myself and enjoy the success. And that's something I've been really working on. I'm working on it.
Wow, cool. So have fun. Yeah, well, it's a lesson we could all, including myself, could learn there. And this is actually a question we touched on, or it's just kind of off it's not part of the question, so it doesn't matter because you're not worried about that anyway. But so maybe I know you talked about how meaningful some of your healing music was, especially for cancer patients and so on. But what about just songs like this about reminding people to have fun, about being positive? There are probably people maybe in traditional music fields who kind of look at it as or people will kind of feel it's kind of this fluffy, positive thinking kind of stuff. But what is the important role of positive music for people's psyche? What's the benefit of them listening to it? Because I know, but I'd like to hear your response as someone who sort of creates that.
Yeah, well, so I mean, this is a whole workshop I teach about the concept of. Do you know what an earworm is?
Is that like a meme kind of thing?
An earworm, EAR, an earworm is actually, it's a medical term that when you get a melody or some little thing stuck in your head that goes around and around and around and around, like a country song or plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is, something like that just goes around and around, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. So how many thoughts are positive and how many thoughts are negative? So my idea with my music is I'm trying to become a positive earworm for people.
Ooh, that's
meaning
nice.
That when they beat themselves up, like all of a sudden they do something, they're all of a sudden going to hear Karen Drucker going, I will be gentle with myself. Mm-hmm. Or if they're working really hard, they're going to hear permission to play, whatever it is, that there will be songs that will kick in that will be like an earworm that's going around. And actually that is a medical situation that can happen, that it releases oxytocin. The hormone that makes you feel good, when you start to have your brain focus in on positive thoughts, it actually releases oxytocin and you get happier. So the idea of, I mean, let me put it this way. Here's a better way of saying it. The difference between waking up in a hotel room recently where I'm hearing Linda Ronstadt singing, "You're no good, you're no good, you're no good."
Right.
"Baby, you're no good." And I heard that all day long in my head, as opposed to, "You are the face of God, I hold you in my heart."
Thank you for this day, Spirit.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, I knew that you had I knew that you had probably thought about this over these many years of creating this music, and that's an awesome answer. So I'm glad I thought to ask it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Karen, we're heading into the stretch here, and so let's talk about books. We're both authors, and so I assume that you are also a reader, and so then maybe some books have had an impact on your life. So if I had to nail you down to pick one or two or whatever, but if there was a book that changed your life, what would that book be, and why was it so impactful?
I would probably say there's a really small little book. I should have just gotten it. I could have shown it. It's right over there. It's Ernest Holmes' Creative Mind and Success, and in it I actually wrote a song based on one of his principles. Is he talks about, don't argue, just go do it. Don't argue for your limitations, just do it. And from that, I actually wrote a song called "Just Do It, Don't Talk About It, Don't Put It Off, Just Do It." But that book was really instrumental for me when I first got into New Thought, and especially when I was a music director for religious science churches. It's this book that just really talks about taking responsibility and going for it, and how you're creating your life and all that stuff. And I would say that was one of the changes. But for me, I got on this spiritual path really by reading books by like Alan Cohen.
Yeah.
He's a person I work with for many years, and I just adore his writing. And Joan Borisenko I've been working with for years. And a lot of these New Thought authors have it's kind of like I've gotten little snippets from everybody. But I would say, that was probably one of my favorite books.
Cool. I've had the good fortune of meeting Alan Cohen a couple of times when he was in St. Louis. And yeah, I love his writing style too.
Yeah.
It's very conversational and down to earth and relatable. So cool. So I'm going to I'll link to all the things that we're talking about, as many of them as I can gather, and link to them in the show notes. So this here's kind of a deep, final, kind of philosophical question, but it's like, and I think you've already touched on it. I kind of know what maybe the answer is, but like, what's your big why? What truly motivates you to do all of this stuff that you do? If there's like an underlying foundational thing that ties everything together, what's your big motivation to do all this stuff? Oops.
I would say the underlying thing of everything I do is when I go outside of myself and I think that what I'm writing about could help somebody. It's really about helping. It's really about being in service, I would say, because one of the things that we were talking about inner critics before, when my inner critic comes up when I'm in the recording studio, which is really big. I mean, it comes in going, "You can't sing. You're not as good as Karen Taylor Good. You did all this stuff." I developed this technique where I take the emails from people that have sent me an email saying, your song helped me through cancer. Your song helped me with the death of my child. Your song helped me when I just was losing hope and I just didn't know where to go. I would put that song on every day, and I would just sit there for 3 minutes and I would sing along with you, and I could make it through my day. And I would take all these emails and I would plaster them on the music stand, so that when that inner critic would come up, I would say, get out of here. I have a bigger purpose here. And that's what would keep me going. And that's what continues to keep me going. All my songs get written from the standpoint of I visualize who's going to listen to this. I mean, I wrote a song, the title of my last album is "With Love, Anything is Possible," and I wrote it with J.D. Martin.
Yeah, I know him too, yeah.
And I remember we started writing this little chant. I mean, it's very simple. With love, anything is possible. Any mountain can be climbed, any river can be crossed. Nothing's ever lost. With love, anything is possible. And I remember we were just starting to get this song. It was starting to come together. And all I could do was think of somebody who was, had just gotten a cancer diagnosis and they tap into that place of like, with love and with hope, anything can be possible. And I just started crying. And that's how the rest of the song got written, was just like, I just could imagine that. And now this song is like the big anthem of the album. I mean, I did it with this choir, and it's just, it's, it's this beautiful, I mean, I just cried every time I was trying to record it. But that's my motivation, is that if my songs can help, anybody. I mean, even like my last concert, this woman came up and said, my 12-year-old child, who is just so critical of herself and is trying to fit in with her peers, she listens to, I don't have to be perfect. I'm doing the best I can. I give myself permission to be just who I am. She says she listens to that every day before she goes to school, and she gets out the door with a smile on her face.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's it.
I love that. Boy, yeah, that's so much more than just an artist getting within themselves and, I mean, getting in, I don't know. Yeah, I'm speechless for what you just said there.
But I mean, some people, but see, what's interesting though, I gotta just say, is that, some artists are really about that though. They have these great instruments, they're incredible singers. So it's enough to just watch them do their thing,
right?
And just go, wow, I get inspired by, watching, Aretha Franklin just sing. But that's how I have to kind of sum up everything I've talked about, that in a way I kind of look at, like when you're talking about going down different roads, at certain points in my life, I tried so hard to be a really great singer and a really great songwriter. And I realized that everything that I am is actually really pretty perfect. I mean, I sing good, but I'm not like a singer to the point of that I can do these amazing licks that are just going to wipe you out going, oh my God, what a voice she has. Because I don't have that, and because I do what it is that I do, it's like I've found this thing that is just for me to do. That right. It's like my songs are about people. The feedback I always get from people is, I love singing with you because I can sing along with you. You're in my, you're not doing anything too complicated. I can sing, and I can feel the magic of those chants, and I can sing along with you. And that's really, it's kind of like this big acceptance, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It's like accepting who you are and what lights you up, and that's what it is for me.
I love that. Any future plans on the horizon that we should be aware of? New albums, new tours, new speaking engagements, or just more the same?
More the same. People can go to my website and look at my calendar of where I am, all throughout the year. I am traveling quite a bit. The big thing I'm doing this year actually is I'm doing a women's retreat that I'm producing myself in Maui, Maui.
Wow.
In Hawaii.
That's a good gig if you can get it.
It's a gig. Well, I just decided, I kept waiting for people to hire me to come to Maui, and I thought, why don't I just show up, create my own? And so I'm doing that in October.
Awesome.
But I'm mainly promoting. Wait a minute. Where is it? Here it goes. I'm mainly promoting. Here we go. Where?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right in the middle. With Love, Anything is Possible. So that's the newest album?
Yeah, brand new. Just came out last month.
Oh, wow. Wow, cool. Well, congratulations. Yeah. That's number 15?
Yes, it is.
That's wonderful. And then people can find you online. I guess that's your website. It's just your name.
Karen.com.
Let's say this normal spelling of Karen, Karen, and then DRUCKER.com. I'm on the site now, and yeah, you've got the full listing. They can find out about your events and speaking engagements, concerts. Your coaching link is all there, and so. Well, this has been a real pleasure, Karen. I really.
Well, me too. Thanks so much. I had a great time with you.
Yeah, there were so many things that where we overlap in our experience and our philosophies, and I find that there's some common traits to all the successful people that I interview. About this whole thing about showing up, taking action. And so there must be something to it, folks. If you. Listen to this advice. All right, Karen. Well, take care. Stay in touch. And for those of you watching on YouTube, thanks. If you're listening on the podcast, I appreciate you too. Please comment. And I will be back again real soon with another interview with another amazing person. So long for now. Bye.